The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to the Paracave Podcast, and the tipping podcast for each and every NRL round are back, and it is round one. Well, the continuation of round one anyway, after what they were calling over there in Las Vegas round zero. And the rest of the games are on this weekend, so there is another 6 games to come after the double header in Las Vegas. With the 2 games there, the Sea Eagles defeated the Rabbitohs 36 points to 24, and the Roosters defeated last year's grand finalists, the Brisbane Broncos, 20 points to 10. So 2 games already gone, done, dusted, and what a great weekend of rugby league, day of rugby league, the double header over there in Las Vegas. Wasn't it great? It was great to see, and look, it is only going to grow and grow and grow, I think, both over in America and in Australia and worldwide. So great event, and hopefully one day I can get over there, and hopefully it will be the Parramatta Eels playing, but hopefully I can get over there to Las Vegas. But anyway, that was last week. You had my tipping podcast for those 2 games last week. This is this week, and it all kicks off on Thursday night at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights take on the Raiders, both semi-finalists from last season, 2023. And look, this is a big game. The Knights go into the game as favourites, as you would think. A lot of people have said that the Raiders are going to slip out of the 8 this year and finish down near the bottom. So this game will be interesting to see anyway as well. So look, no surprises really in the Newcastle side anyway. Kalen Ponga at fullback and captain. Tuala gets the winger spot left by Dom Young, who's gone to the Sydney Roosters. The halves, Tyson Gamble, Jackson Hastings, which we saw most of last year. And look, Jack Cogger, he's on the interchange bench, that number 14 there, so we might see him play a bit of 5'8" as well, potentially. Kai Pearce-Paul, I believe, is from England, and he is on the interchange bench. He is over in England, and look, he is a English international and played for the Wigan Warriors. So he played in the grand final last year before coming to Australia, and a lot of raps on him. So second rower, and he makes his NRL debut for the Newcastle Knights. So look, a fairly good squad there. Jack Hetherington on the bench, Daniel Saifiti on the bench as well. Dylan Lucas, I don't know too much about him, but he is in the second row. Leo Thompson, a young front rower from the Newcastle Knights, made his international debut for the New Zealand Kiwis last year in the Pacific Championships. And one player I think who had a better season, and probably one of his best seasons you would like to think, is Phoenix Crossland in the hooker position, coming up against Danny Levi, a former Newcastle hooker. So that's a fairly good-looking Newcastle squad. Not a lot of changes to last year's team. On the other side, the Green Machine, the Canberra Raiders, Look, they've got a few young players. Ethan Strange is making his Canberra Raiders debut in the 5/8 position. Exciting young player, has played under 19 State of Origin for New South Wales, so big raps on this kid. So it looks like he will play in the. Well, he has been named at 5/8, so interesting. He played really well in the trial game. I saw him play against the Cowboys. I think it was at Seaford Oval. Scored a try for a little kick and regather. So exciting times there. Jamal Fogarty at halfback, and Joseph Tarpany is the front rower and captain. Zach Hosking, a purchase from the Penrith Panthers in the second row position. Morgan Smithies, he comes from England, makes his debut in the lock position, and also playing in that Wigan Warriors side in the grand final last year. So, look, I'm going to tip Newcastle in this game. I think just at home and the form from last year. The last time these two sides played, it was only a really close game. It was, of course, the semi-finals. It was a Newcastle victory, 30 points to 28. On that occasion, earlier on in the season, it was 28 points to 6 Newcastle's way down there in Canberra. So, look, the last time they met, it was very close, but I think this will be a Newcastle victory, and I think it will be more than 2 points. Look, the next game, and by the way, that Newcastle-Canberra game is a sellout, as is this next game. The Warriors and the Sharks over there in New Zealand at Go Media Stadium in Auckland. And look, this game, as I said, is another sellout on the back of the success of the season that the Warriors had last year, making the prelim final. And look, they've got a good-looking side as well. Absolutely excited to see Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back in the centre position this time. We know him as a fullback, but he's in the centres and looking really good. Played in the trial games, and his performances looked like he never left rugby league. Sean Johnson in the halfback position had a great season last year. Many thought he would be the Dally M Player of the Year, but he got pipped out by Kalen Ponga for that spot. So he will want to have another season like he did last year. If he does, the Warriors will go just as well. Kurt Capel comes from the Brisbane Broncos grand final side there into the second row, a off-season purchase, and Tohu Harris at lock and captain. Adam Fanua-Blake, who will be leaving the Warriors after this season, I believe, to join the Cronulla Sharks in 2025, so playing against his future club. That's always interesting. Look, it's a pretty well-balanced side for the New Zealand Warriors. Dylan Walker on the interchange bench. And, yeah, I think it's a very well-balanced side. That inclusion of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is just as good as anyone. The Cronulla Sharks, look, it's always a tough road trip over there to New Zealand. So they will find it difficult over there as well. Not a lot of changes to their side from last year. Cameron McInnes is the captain of the side. Dale Finucane on the bench. Toby Rudolph on the interchange bench as well, coming back from injury, I think it is. One player I do like to see, he's a real workhorse, Tom Hazelton, a real workhorse. He's on the bench as well. So Oregon Kafusi obviously played at the Parramatta Eels, one of my favourites there. He is in the prop position. Nico Hines, Dally M Player of the Year 2022 at halfback. Braden Trindle gets the 5/8 position, with Matt Moylan going over to the Super League. And Sifa Talakai is in the centre position as normal, as he has played in the last couple of years. There was talk he would move back into the back row, but he has stayed there in the centre position. So William Kennedy at the fullback position is one to watch as well. Look, the last time these two sides played over in New Zealand, it was an absolute shellacking. The Warriors giving it to the Sharks, 44 points to 12. I don't think it'll be that high scoring game this week. On Friday night, the Warriors do go into the game as favourites, but I don't think it'll be this bigger scoreline, and I think the Warriors will get the win in this one. Another cracking game is the Melbourne Storm up against the Penrith Panthers, the three-time premiership winners. This game played at Amy Park. This should get a sellout as well. Obviously, being the premiers, the Panthers go into this game as favourites, but look, the Storm at home are going to be really hard to beat. Great to see Ryan Pappenhausen back from a serious injury to take that fullback position. Nick Meaney moves into the centre position. Bit of an injury cloud over Cameron Munster. Apparently a little bit of a slip-up in the shower over there in Fiji in their trial game. So a little bit interesting there. So whether he plays or not, that could be an interesting choice there. I don't know who would come in there. Maybe Jonah Pezzett might come into the 5/8 role if Cameron Munster is out, but that would be a big blow if he isn't playing on Friday night against Penrith. But the Melbourne Storm, they haven't lost a round one game in about 21 years or something ridiculous like that. Craig Bellamy is supposedly his last year in as head coach, so we'll just have to wait and see if he coaches on past this season. But it's an amazing record in his first week of a competition. So for the Panthers, well, they had that loss against the Wigan Warriors in the World Club Challenge. Jerome Luai comes back into the 5/8 position after recovering from a shoulder injury he suffered late last year. Nathan Cleary co-captains the side with Isaiah Yeo. Pretty formidable forward pack. Obviously, Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris, the Bash brothers, as they like to be called, in there in the prop positions, with Mitch Kenny suspended due to a social media incident during the off-season. Luke Summerton is in that hooker position for the Panthers. So they'll miss Mitch a little bit there, but I think it's only a one-game suspension, so he'll be back in round 2 against the Eels. Look, a lot of questions are going to be asked whether the loss of Steve Crichton and Spencer Leniu will be a big one or not. Taylor May, he's come back from an ACL injury last year to fill that centre position left by Stephen Crichton, who moved on to the Bulldogs this season. Dylan Edwards back there at the fullback as well, got some international experience at the end of last year playing for Australia in the Pacific Championships. So, look, this game's going to be a cracker. These two always do good games against each other. Look, last year in the prelim final, the Panthers gave it to the Storm 38 points to 4, and look, that's last year. This is round 1, different season, new season. Look, I'm going to tip the Storm in this one, and I think it's only because of their round 1 record, which is, records are meant to be broken, but I just think they will hang on and get this one. My mind may change if Cameron Munster isn't playing, but at this stage he is playing. But if he doesn't play, then I would definitely turn towards the Penrith Panthers. They are a pretty formidable machine at the moment, and they are premiership favourites, so just have to wait and see how this one goes out. But I'm going to go to the Storm in a very close game on this one in the second game on Friday night. Look, the first game on Saturday, the one that I'm looking forward to, is the Eels and Bulldogs at CommBank Stadium, 5:30pm. Now, the first game on Saturday night, if CommBank Stadium isn't a sellout, then there's something wrong, because these two are bitter rivals, 80s rivals, and whenever they play, massive rivals, the Bulldogs and the Eels. So, look, the Eels missed out on the finals last year after making the 2022 grand final, so they will be hurting for that, missed out by one game. Interesting that Brad Arthur in the off-season said that he wants an 80-minute hooker, but he has named Joey Lussick at hooker and also Brendan Hands on the interchange bench. So more than likely we'll see those two interchange throughout the game. So that 80-minute hooker theory just goes out the window. But look, it is a very strong Parramatta side, probably the one that I would have picked. I probably wouldn't have picked Bailey Simonson on the wing. I probably would have left him in the centre position, and that is just to get that combination going with Sean Russell. I would have probably brought in Hayes Dunster, but I'm not the coach of the Parramatta Eels. Brad Arthur is, and that's the way he's gone. Morgan Harper, an off-season signing from the Manly Sea Eagles, comes into that centre position to make his club debut. And also joining him from Manly is Kelma Tulagi, so he makes his club debut on the interchange bench with Joe Offahengawi, Ryan Madison, and, as I said before, Brendan Hands. So a pretty strong lineup, and one we'll probably hopefully see for the rest of the year. For the Bulldogs, Blake Taaffe has made the fullback position his in this game anyway, round one. Jacob Kiraz is in the centre position, and that allows Blake Wilson to retain his wing spot. Josh Adokar obviously on the other wing. Stephen Crichton is a captain, newly appointed captain. He is in the centre position. Drew Hutchinson has made the squad as the halfback. He was in contention there with Toby Sexton, so he's got the nod for this round one clash. So good luck to Drew making his club debut there. Matt Burton in the 5/8 position. Jamin Salmon making his club debut in at lock. Kurt Mann, big raps on Sam Hughes, a big prop forward on the interchange bench. Josh Curran from the New Zealand Warriors as well. He is on the interchange bench. So some of these players that have missed out: Connor Tracy, Toby Sexton, Bronson Cherry, who's been out of the game for a long time, and Jake Turpin as well. So they've got some pretty handy backup players on the extended bench there, but I expect Parramatta to get the job done. And look, if you're out at CommBank Stadium on Saturday night, and if you see me out and about, come and say g'day. Let's have a chat about Parramatta. It would just be great to get back to the footy and see all the footy fans there. So that's where I'll be at CommBank Stadium, so come and say g'day. On to the next game on Saturday night. It is the Titans versus the Dragons up there on the Gold Coast. Newly appointed, well, now he's been there for a while now, but Des Hasler takes over the reins at the Gold Coast Titans in what looks like a little bit of a new look side. Tanner Boyd gets the halfback position. AJ Brimson, a position change there, normally known as a fullback, is now playing in the centres. Still, Jaden Campbell still out injured, so he will likely slot into that fullback position. So great to have him back when he gets back, but you have to have him somewhere in the squad there. So what else have we got? We've got Keenan Palacia at lock, Sam Verrills on the interchange bench. And look, no real surprises in this Gold Coast squad. Big Tino Fasul Malawi at the captain prop, Mo Fodawaker, the other prop for the Gold Coast. So no real surprises here. Very similar squad to last year. Camperera on the wing. He is a try-scoring machine, so if he finds some space, he'll score a try, maybe two. So for the St George Illawarra Dragons. Now, if you missed it last week, I released a chat with head coach Shane Flanagan about season 2024. So if you can, go back and check that one out. It's in the podcast library there, but he talks about a few of these positions. So Zach Lomax, interesting one on the wing. Jack Bird in the centres. Tyrell Sloan has got the fullback position. Kyle Flanagan has got the 5/8 position with Ben Hunt, the half and captain. And look, no real changes, no real surprises there. New season, off-season bye, Raymond Fatala Mariner on the interchange bench. He goes into number 17. Tom Eisenhuth as well, who came from the Melbourne Storm. He's in the starting second row. Blake Laurie, try-scoring machine. He's in the prop position, so I expect a big year for him. And look, I think it's going to be a hard year for the Dragons. A lot of people have tipped them to be challenging the Tigers, if you can say that, challenging for the wooden spoon, but look, you just never know. Look, I'm going to tip the Gold Coast in this one. Sorry, Flano. I'm going to tip the Gold Coast in this one simply because it's at home. And look, it's the first game of the year at home. That's probably the only reason. Look, this could be a bit of a flip of the coin, to be honest, but I'm going to tip the Gold Coast in this one. As I said, sorry, Flano, but all the best in this game. And the next game and the last game of the weekend, as the West Tigers, they have the bye, so they have to wait another week to play a game, but they do get 2 points, so a good start to the season for them. And the last game on the Sunday, 4:05pm, a Queensland derby. The Dolphins take on the North Queensland Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium. Now, if you remember back to last year, the Dolphins got the win at Suncorp Stadium in their first ever game in the NRL against the Sydney Roosters. So can they do it again against the Cowboys side, who would be disappointed not to make the 8 after a prelim final in 2022? We've heard all about that. Look to the home side first, the Dolphins. The Hamaso Tabuai Fido, he goes back to fullback. We've seen him in representative football playing the centres. New season bye, Herbie Farmworth. He limped off training the other day with a bit of an ankle complaint, but he's been named in the centre position. He's a great buy for them. And Cody Nikorima and Sean O'Sullivan are the halves. Tom Flegler, another great off-season buy from the Broncos. He is the prop. Ray Stone gets the lock position. And Mark Nichols on the interchange bench. Ken Bromwich on the interchange bench. Josh Kerr, Max Plath, son of Johnny Plath. So, look, unfortunately for new season bye, Jake Avarillo, he misses out on a position. Isaiah Katoa, he misses out on a position in this team. So, look, it's going to be an interesting season for the Dolphins. They played last year. They got that little bit of experience. They've got a couple of new buys, a couple of new great buys in Herbie Farnworth and Tom Flegler. Look, everyone's been talking about those two buys from the Broncos. Great experience for the Dolphins, but a big loss for the Broncos. So they will bring that to the team. And look, to this North Queensland side, Kyle Felt, he gets that wing position. You would think he would anyway. He's closing in on the top try-scoring record, I think, for the Cowboys. So good luck to him this year in getting that. Newly appointed captain Tom Dearden, co-captain Reuben Cotter, but he is 5'8" with Chad Townsend. Jason Taumalolo in the prop position. Look, they've got a fairly great forward pack, I think. Reece Robson, he's pretty good out of the dummy half position. Jason Taumalolo, Helam Lukey, Jeremiah Nanai, and Reuben Cotter. That's a pretty good back row there. Pretty exciting back row. So look, I'm going to tip the Cowboys in this one. Although you never know with the Dolphins, they might just surprise you in round one. These round one games are just so hard to tip. If you haven't paid much attention to the trial games, but then again, they are just trial games, so these round one tips are very hard to do. Look, I'm going to tip the Cowboys. I think they're after redemption from last year. I think Scott Drinkwater is up for a big season. You could see him potentially be right up there for Dally M Player of the Year contention, but he is certainly up for a big year. So I'm going to tip the Cowboys in this one. I think it could be a close game in the battle of the Queensland side. So just recapping the last 6 games of round 1, I'm going to tip the Knights over the Raiders. I'm going to go the Warriors over the Sharks, the Storm over the Panthers, the Eels over the Bulldogs, the Titans over the Dragons, and the Cowboys over the Dolphins. So if you notice anything there, they are all the home teams except for the Cowboys. So there you go. But feel free to follow my tips. As I said, round 1 tips are always the hardest one to tip. I hope I've maybe helped you a little bit in your tips, but hey, don't blame me if you don't do any good in the tipping, because if you don't do any good, then I won't do any good, because they're my tips. So look, bit of fun anyway, and I'll be back next week with the round 2 tipping podcast after Team List Tuesday has been dropped. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and enjoy your footy over the weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.